This podcast is a part of the Podmania Podcasting Network. Check out podmania.co.uk to check out more of our great podcasts, features, reviews, match ratings and previews spanning the crazy and diverse world of professional wrestling. Welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom right here on the Podmania Podcasting Network. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin, and I'm joined as ever by Matt Turner. Matt, how are you, my friend?
Rob, I am fantastic. The snow's starting to melt over here in Pennsylvania, so that can only mean one thing. That means in about 10 days' time, we're going to get a foot of snow. That's how it usually works in Pennsylvania. This is what we call fake spring number one. This is where we're at here in good old northeastern Pennsylvania. But no complaints as always. As always, positive thoughts and vibes. How's everything on your end over there in England?
Yeah, not bad. We had, as I was telling you, we had a pretty big storm which knocked out my internet. So we were supposed to record this yesterday. It's Friday the 11th today. And we were supposed to record this yesterday, but the internet, it made the news, our little storm. You can tell it's not been a great time for news, but yeah, it made the news. It knocked out the internet for the entire area. Didn't come back on for ages, and then the internet was shocking when it eventually did come back on. So yeah, here we are today. We're talking about Stardom though, so it's all good, man. I'm looking forward to these two shows that we're going to talk about. Actually, what about you?
Absolutely. I thought they were both solid shows. Before we get into that, I have been going through the back catalog of Stardom, and I went to the year of 2018, and I watched back to back the two Io Shirai versus Momo Watanabe white belt matches, which are fantastic. Mm-hmm. And I hope we cover them. Please vote for Momo white belt. If I can plug there. So I've been on a big Io Shirai kick, and obviously we went through her red belt defense, the V14, which was absolutely stunning and fantastic. And thank you for everyone that has subscribed to Patreon. And if you're on the fence about subscribing to Patreon, there is a fantastic Io Shirai episode that me and Rob recorded about a month ago. But anywho, so then I started to go and watch some of the Thunder Rock stuff. And I think I even sent you a text message of a match I watched where it was Io and Mayu, who was Thunder Rock, versus Kairi Sane, Hojo, and Meiko Satomura. And it was hands down the best Stardom tag match I've ever seen. Now, again, I still have a lot to I've watched a lot of stuff, but I still have a lot to see. So if anybody can recommend me a match that is as good as that one, or even better, please let me know. But so I was going through that, and then I was watching some of her high-speed belt stuff. And there's a match she has on the 4th anniversary show with the person who will eventually become Goken Death and Fukin Death. I don't know. You probably know her name. I can't pronounce it.
Kaori Yoneyama.
There it is. I pitched you a softball, sir, and you hit that out of the park. And that match absolutely blew my mind. I was like, wow. Like, this is how, I don't know if this is how good she was before the whole gimmick thing, but obviously she's in the match with Io. Fast forward about a month or so later, and she's defending the high-speed belt against who is our 2022 January MVP of Stardom, Koguma. And is hands down the best match I've ever seen Koguma have. And she's been having some bangers. But this is just, might be the best high-speed title match I've ever seen. So again, I'm kind of just jumping all around with the Io Shirai stuff. So then I'm watching some matches from 5-Star Grand Prix. And there's a really hidden gem with her and Mayu from the 5-Star, I think it was 2015. And obviously it doesn't get talked about because it's only a 4.25 to 4.5 star match as to their like damn near how many 5-star matches that they've had over the red belt. So I'm thinking, geez, like there's all this great stuff. And then there's a match that she has with a very young Hazuki from, I believe it's the 2016 5-Star Grand Prix. And it probably holds up as one of Hazuki's best matches ever. And this is when she's very, very, very young. You're looking like almost 6 years ago. So then you're going through the end of the Thunder Rock stuff where she turns on Mayu and she joins Queen's Quest. Now, in this time when all this happens and she's having all these great matches with Mayu, she's still the red belt champion. So this is in the period where she's having all these great title defenses. And she, as pretty much everybody knows, when she starts Queen's Quest, she recruits a very young Momo Watanabe and a very young Hazuki underneath her wing. And you can tell that she's guiding their careers. And from where they're at now, as we record in February 2022, this Momo and Hazuki, I think they're going to be all right. I think they're going to do okay. So you can tell that just Io, not only what she does in the ring for herself, she gets herself over. She gets other people in the match over. By that, I mean her opponent, her tag partner. If it's a 6-person, an 8-person, a tag, everybody in the match gets over. And obviously, you can tell from just watching her, wrestle, just once, she has that it factor. And basically watching all these matches, and you add in what she's done on WWE NXT, I have a very strong opinion, and I come to the conclusion that she's not just one of the best, but in my opinion, probably will go down when her career is over as the greatest female wrestler of all time. Now, I got to ask you, Rob, do you think I'm a little bit nuts by having this theory? Everything that I just watched from her just blows me away. Just how, again, I've seen so much of her stuff, and we're like, oh, nothing will ever be as good as those 16 matches she had with the red belt. And it's, from the second defense, but then it's like you're going watching the white belt stuff, the tag stuff, and just like, holy jeepers. I was like, I kind of want to just kind of throw this on discussion on the podcast to you, since you are the Stardom expert, and, to the listeners as well, because I would love their feedback on this.
I mean, you are opening a huge can of worms with the Josie fandom. I'll tell you, Matt, with that statement, you could have quite literally ignited a fire here. That's
a good thing. Hey, let's open up the discussion. Yeah. Now, I will admittedly so I have not seen a lot, especially in recent years, of the All Japan Women's stuff in the 90s. So when the people that I talk to, they'll tell you, Toyota, Hokuto, Nakano, Aja Kong, stuff like that. And I know that, after I just made this statement, and I wanted to make this statement, I know in the next month or so, I'm going to have to go back and watch it just to see if what I said just holds up. But you cannot deny just how fantastic of a wrestler Io Shirai is. I mean, she might be the best women's wrestler in probably the last 15 or 20 years.
She's a sensational wrestler, and it makes it... I mean, I know she's held the NXT Women's Championship, but it does sort of make you realize just how underused she's been in that promotion. She's making a case for one of the greatest women's wrestler of the modern age, definitely. But, you can't discount people like Aja Kong. Like you mentioned, the All Japan Women, Aja Kong, Manami Toyota, Akira Hokuto, all these people that, Bull Nakano, all absolutely outstanding female wrestlers, and, have put on some incredible matches, different matches to the ones that Io has put on. I think a lot of it goes down to taste, what you enjoy watching.
It's an opinion. Everybody has their opinion. I had, we're just coming off a week or so ago from this absolute classic MJF CM Punk match. And one of my best friends called me the next day. Obviously, I'm big on MJF as a heel. Obviously, I have a rich history with CM Punk. He called me the next day and he's like, hey, man, I just want to let you know I did not enjoy that CM Punk MJF match. He goes, and I know I'm in the minority. And my thing was, hey, man, that's your opinion. You can like what you like.
I mean, a lot of it as well, especially with the 90s All Japan Women and Pure J and things like that. Not Pure J. I can't remember what it's called now. JWP. It's a case of if you were alive and watching wrestling at that time and living it, you might feel differently to, say, me and you going back and watching it, 20, 30 years in the future. So she's an outstanding wrestler, Io Shirai, and I think that's something that no one can deny. And in terms of stardom, she's the greatest ever. I mean, as far as I'm aware, it's not even close. I mean, it's Io and then Mayu and then Kairi. I think is probably the way it goes at the moment. But when you consider what Io has done, she's definitely number one. And then you look of the people who've gone over from Japan to America, especially recently, Io's done the most. You know, you can argue Asuka.
Yeah, kind of.
But I don't know. It's a tough question that I'd love to see what people
that's why I want to hear. Yeah, by all means, people, please be respectful. Don't be like, you're terrible, you're this or that. This is just, again, it's kind of funny now that I'm thinking about it. I think one of the last times I really watched might even blow your mind. One of the last times I watched a Miami Toyota match was when we were doing tape study for Ring of Honor. So I was sitting there with some of the Ring of Honor students watching a Toyota match with CM Punk. So there's a statement that you probably didn't think you'd hear when you woke up today.
I love the fact that you just subtly dropped that in. Just that little name drop. Lovely.
The one day, and not to be all over the place here, and I'm sure we'll get back on track, but it was about a week or so ago, you texted me and you started asking me all these questions. And I'm like, no, by all means. And I'm literally there sitting there, and as always, I'm on the couch sitting next to Amber, my wife, and I was like, and I've been with my wife about 12, 13 years, so it was, pretty much after everything I did with Ring of Honor. And it's just like, yeah, I broke in with Orange Cassidy. Yeah, I've beaten up James Ellsworth so many times in Maryland and Delaware. And it's just like, yeah, I first started with Bobby Fitt. And it's just like, oh, man, I didn't even realize I did. And then you text me and you're just like, wow, these guys I see on TV, and I don't even realize it. Like, it was just like, hey, man, we're all just kids just trying to break into the business, just, busting our asses. And all those guys, God bless them, made it a lot further than I did. I still talk to James Ellsworth quite a bit, and he's doing fantastic, and God bless him. But it's just like, oh, man, I guess I kind of did okay and was around some okay people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just dropping names. Why not? If you can, why not?
Pick it up.
So let's sort of bring it round towards Stardom. We've got those two shows to talk about from the 1st and from the 6th of February as we continue on the New Year Stars tour. So we're going to be talking about those, talking about, from what I can see, the discourse on the internet, quite a divisive high-speed title match as the headliner of that 1st of February show at Korakuen. So we'll definitely be talking in detail about that. We've got some news and little bits of tidbits to talk about before and after, and then we've got some cards to preview as well, as from the last time we recorded, they've announced the full card for Stardom Cinderella Journey, and we've got the top 2 matches of the next Korakuen show, which I believe is the 21st of February, so 2 days before that Cinderella Journey show. Before we kick into any Stardom news, I just wanted to talk about the Hanan Kamura Memorial Show. Now, this obviously took place last year, the matinee show, which was an incredible show for an absolute multitude of reasons. It was a beautiful celebration of Hana's memory. Of course, we saw Kagetsu in a ring again. We saw Hazuki in a room again as a big surprise before she then made her return to Stardom. It has been announced that there will be a second one this year, and it's going to be called Hanabagus or Hanabagus, or, again, I've probably butchered that pronunciation, but even so. We've also got Sayori Anu, who has been announced for that show. They also seem to announce that in this 10-minute press conference, I think you can check out on YouTube, they've announced Kaori Yoneyama, Jungle Kiona will be there, Kagetsu will be there again, Asuka, Ram Keicho, and then there's going to be sort of promotions taking place like Pure J, Sendai Girls, 666, and Wave. They're all going to be involved. As of yet, there's no mention of Stardom talent taking place, but as someone pointed out in the Discord, it was only 3 days before the show that they announced that people like Konami were taking part last year. So I wouldn't put it out of the realms of possibility that there will be Stardom participation in that event. There's been some sort of conversation about how Kyoko Kamura isn't on the greatest of terms with Stardom. I don't know how true that is. But what are your first impressions, Matt? Do you want to see this become an annual thing? What do you think of the names? That sort of thing.
Yeah, 100%. Back in the States, they did something like this for Brian Pillman. And you had people from all over that would come, and even the WWE, WWF, they loaned some of their talents. It's actually famous for one of Regal's all-time best matches with Chris Benoit. Anywho, yeah, I'd like to see this be part of an annual thing, and even if there is some heat between promotions or a promoter and a booker and another talent, it's bigger than that. This is for Hana's memory. You kind of got to put things aside. Put things aside for one night, check your ego at the front door. But it's nice it's going to see what's going to happen with Jungle Kyona. I didn't know that until you just dropped that name there. So it'll be interesting to see, what happens. Because since she left Stardom, I don't think she's had a match yet, has she? Anywhere else?
As far as I'm aware, she's still recovering from injury. Now, this show obviously will be taking place around Hannah's birthday, which I think is the 23rd of May. Not Hannah's birthday, sorry. The day she died, which is the 23rd of May. So she has still got 3.5 months to recover from the injury. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, there's been no wrestling at all mentioned from Jungle Kyona since she left Stardom back in September.
Yeah, and even if she's still a little banged up, depending on the injury, you can always put her in a tag or a 6-person or an 8-person, kind of just work around her. Have her come in, have her maybe do some Hannah spots, have her maybe do some Tokyo Cyber Squad entrance stuff. Have her do 1 or 2 things, and then just this way to protect her. At least this way she's there. But again, I don't know. I don't know the injuries, if it's a neck or a back or something where she can't move, and that's a completely different story. So yeah, hopefully she recovers, and hopefully we see her in her ring very soon. And I know she fell on bad terms with Stardom, but selfishly, I would love to see her come back to the promotion sometime this year.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a severe knee injury, actually. And she did actually participate in the last Hannah Memorial show, and she was only doing very, very basic things, and she wasn't wrestling, but huge knee brace and things like that. So even if she can't wrestle, or even if she's not cleared to wrestle, it will be nice to see her doing something again, which is always really, really good. Couple of injury updates in terms of Stardom. Mayu Iwatani has unfortunately had to pull out of the last 2 shows. So these 2 shows that we're going to be talking about, the show on the 6th, Mayu isn't on. She is on the Korakuen show, but not on I think it's the Kyoto show. Just because she's got backache, basically. A really bad back and couldn't move. Sorry, Sendai. Why did I say Kyoto? Sendai. Basically, she apologized, said that she wouldn't be able to be on that show. As at the moment, she is advertised to take part of the shows this weekend. So we'll see if those cards change or if she will be there. Another injury is to Lady C, who has had absolutely no luck this year to start off with.
God bless her, God bless her.
Absolutely. She said that she was going to miss the autograph session, which was today as we record. She's also going to miss the show in Osaka, which is tomorrow, and the Kyoto tournament, which is the day after. Hopefully, again, she's still going to be okay going forward. But yeah, she's also going to miss those 2 cards as well. However, Matt, let's get into these 2 cards that we're going to talk about today, because I'm excited to hear your point of view on some of these. So let's start with New Year Stars 2022 Night 4, which was the Korakuen Hall show from the 1st of February with an attendance of 656. We open with a singles match. Saki Kashima defeated Hanan with the Kishikasai in 8 minutes and 36 seconds. Some new gear for Saki, Matt, oh my God. It's because I've been talking to him today, that's why.
Chris, he's winking into the camera. That's not even there. He's giving the old wink there. Yeah, Saki with some new gear. Again, this is just, I talk about this all the time. Stardom does a great job basically leveling up their wrestlers. I mean, you've been seeing over the past few years of people getting new gear and, changing for a little bit. And it's a new look. It's a fresh coat of paint. And I thought this was a solid match. It didn't go far too long. I thought on both these shows, and we'll get into it, I thought Hana looked really, really good. I know that you've been big on both Hana and Saki. Basically, since I jumped on the podcast, and I was like, well, I kind of don't see it. But every time that I see these 2 ladies wrestle, I pay a special close attention. And as usual, # Rob Goodwin is right, because I think both of these have improved. Both these ladies have improved since I've been watching Stardom the last handful of months, and I really, really enjoyed this match. I thought Saki's selling was really good here. She was selling the knee really well and was, basically kind of like powering through it. So I really enjoyed it. This was a solid match, and I can't wait to see a rematch down the road where maybe they'll have 3 or 4 extra minutes.
Well, to be honest, I've always seen Saki as like, a Sean Waltman, a 1-2-3 kid of back in, the mid-90s, where she was a measuring stick for competitors. And, she puts on a great match. Hanan, I thought, was absolutely fantastic in this match. Actually bringing out a stretch muffler, which is brand new. And I was really impressed with the way Hanan was targeting that limb. And like you mentioned, Saki's selling made it a lot more believable. And I think these two had great chemistry. And I think even the finish, the fact that Saki rolls her up with a kiss, because I know she 9 times out of 10 finishes matches with that flash pin, but I think that showing experience over youthful exuberance is a good story to tell. And, you don't want Hanan looking poor in this match with her being the future of Stardom champion. But even so, I really enjoyed this match. It's one of the matches I actually rated, and I gave it 3 stars. And you mentioned...
Me too.
Yeah,
yep,
spot
me
on.
too. Shocker.
Like you mentioned before, though, I think every time we've seen Hanan, she had... I wouldn't necessarily call it a clunky match at Dream Queendom, but it certainly wasn't her best. But you look at her 2 singles matches since, she's had a singles match with Lady C, which I thought was really good at Nagoya Supreme Fight. And then she's had another great match here, little under 9 minutes, a really good, solid match. Really impressed overall.
Absolutely.
We move on then to match 2, which was an 8-woman tag team match. The Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Momo Kogo, Hazuki, and Koguma defeating Queen's Quest team of Lady C, Azumi, Utami Hayashishita, and Saya Kamatani, with Hazuki pinning Lady C with the Michinoku driver in 11 minutes and 5 seconds. Poor Saya. She desperately wants to keep that secret, Matt, but will she manage to keep it?
Well, I'm going to back up 2 steps here. One, it was my notes was Koguma got the pin with the top rope splash after the Michinoku driver on the Lady C.
I apologize. I might have missed that.
Look at that. Okay, but let's back up. Okay, let's take a look at this match on paper. You have the tag champs and FWC in this match. Okay, you have the white belt champion and Saya Kamatani in this match. You have 2 up-and-coming stars that I can't wait to see what these 2 ladies do in the next 12 to 24 months in Lady C and Momo Kogo. You have the last 2 red belt champions in Utami and Mayu Iwatani with a combined rate of over 700 days. And oh yeah, by the way, you have Azumi in this match. And it's the second match of the card. Like, I'm sitting there as these ladies are coming into the ring and I'm writing my notes down. I'm just like, this is just the second match. Like, holy geez, there's so much star power and future star power in this match. And this match to me was just an absolute ball of fun. They didn't overthink it. They didn't try to do too many spots. Everybody got in what they needed to get in. And yes, Rob, the beginning was, again, it was fun. You basically have 2 babyface factions here, and you're starting off with the story of Saya's secret, and you're already giving Momo Kogo kind of a big spot because you kind of think that she knows it, and she's like putting that megaphone that I guess has like a heart on it. I don't know if that's because it's like Valentine's Day's coming up, or that's the only thing that they can find, or what. I just thought that was brilliant. I was like, this is fun, because they're two lovable factions. Everybody pretty much enjoys all 8 of these competitors, and it's just like, yes, I just wants to blurt out that secret. And it's just like, it's at a point right now from where I on my Twitter feed, and I'm sure you're probably getting it as well, that if it's anybody but Kari Hojo, that it's at a point where someone needs to tip Rossi off and just be like, look, if it's not her, you just need to come out and say it, because they're going to be pissed if it's not her.
They've done a lot of and obviously we'll talk a little bit when we get to the high-speed championship match a little bit more about it, but yeah, they've done a lot of building to this. It needs to be someone big, especially as they are centering all of Saya's unimportant matches on this one spot. And I do like how they are proper leaning in on Saya blurting things out, since she blurted out that Takumi Iroha was the surprise participant in the 5-star last year. I'm glad they're leaning into that, so it's always good fun.
she's the Tom Holland of the. Remember
Yeah,
Tom
absolutely.
Holland he would spoil things, and they're like, "Let's just make it a storyline." And then so it's like on the press thing, and he sells it so well. God bless him.
He
And that's
really
that's
does.
the way that I see it. I always try to melt my comics and my wrestling together. So I was like, that's why I saw this, and I was like, poor Saya Kamatani is the Spider-Man of the Stardom universe.
But yeah, this was just fun. I don't think there was too much seriousness in this match. Mayu wasn't in the match for a long time. Obviously, knowing what we know now, that's, perfectly reasonable. Momo Kogo, over these two shows, has really, really impressed me. And as a rookie coming in, she has offered the most early on out of anyone I've seen debut in Stardom over the last 2 years, Matt.
Yeah, her and Hannah, and they're both, in the same group. Their stocks went up so much in my eyes, and we'll get to Hannah's just little things that she done in the second night here. But I was like, geez, stars in a year's time went from like, okay, it's Mayu and like next to nobody. No offense, just because, Saeed is injured and the Cosmic Angel, Tam leaves and takes her friends to form Cosmic Angels. It's just like, you have now they have the tag champs, and you have Saeed coming back hopefully soon. And then you have these two up and coming stars. It's like, stars, I guess, pun intended. You literally, they're just kind of just shot up over here. I'm really excited to see what they're going to do here. But yeah, Momo Koga, I'm really impressed with what I saw. And from what I understand is your cat's favorite wrestler, it seems, from what I've been seeing on Twitter.
Hashtag watch Stardom, indeed. We might well have a new high-speed challenger in George the Cat. Yeah, just was obsessed, would not move. I had to rewatch the match because so much of it was taken up with his huge cat head. But yeah, it was a really enjoyable match. It's not one that you go out of your way to seek in-ring sort of greatness, but even so, it was a fun story that they told. And yeah, it's 11 minutes and 5 seconds. It's relatively inoffensive. In terms of match 3, then, we had a tag team match with the Cosmic Angels team of Unagi Sayaka and Mina Shirakawa defeating the DDM team of Giulia and Thekla with the Glorious Collection Mina in 12 minutes and 52 seconds. Couple of things to note about this. The first, obviously, Mina Shirakawa getting a pinfall victory over Thekla, and then, of course, making her sort of ambitions known that she wants to go for that SWA belt again. And then Unagi and Mina going for the tag belts, Matt.
Yeah. Now, I got to ask you this. What do you think about Unagi getting another title shot? It just seems like every time she turns around, it's like, let's give her another title shot. Let's give her another title shot. You think this is... Obviously, she's doing a great job. We talk about it all the time. She improves literally every time she's out in the ring, between her character, her promos, what she does in the ring, her selling, her tag stuff. But you think this is just... They're kind of... Is she just in the right spot at the right time just for someone to put in title matches? Or do you think that this is, purposely what they're going to do is to build her towards maybe the end of the year to her holding one of the bigger titles?
It wouldn't surprise me if by the end of the year she's a tag champion. I don't think she gets them here. Last year she was in the most title matches of anyone on the Stardom roster. And whilst initially I was certainly very staunchly and vocally against that because I don't feel like she earns those title shots, here I feel like it's the next logical step. And after all, we're not talking about red belt shots. Yes, she's had 2 shots of the white belt, admittedly, but, it's the tag belts. It's not the most important belt on the roster, and they need to have challengers, FWC. And if you look at the roster at the moment, between injuries, programs with other wrestlers, other champions having to defend their belts, there aren't a great deal of wrestlers left. So Unagi and Mina, it makes sense for them to have that challenge towards FWC. I do think it's a filler defense for FWC. I'd be very, very, very surprised if Unagi and Mina win that. But I am quite surprised they gave Mina a return victory over Thekla. I know Ter and Thekla had very good chemistry, but there's a lot of other wrestlers I'd want to see get that SWA belt shot, like the woman who's getting it at Korakuen in Saki, which we'll talk about in a minute, before Mina gets another shot. I'm not offended by either, to be perfectly honest. I think they're perfectly, perfectly suitable title defenses. But I can see why people will get annoyed.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I kind of just wanted to throw it at you. But you said Unagi had the most title matches in 2021?
Yes, I believe she had 17 title matches. Of course, don't forget she was part of the Artist of Stardom champion. So, she did have, I think, 7 matches just defending that title.
The reason why I asked that question, Rob, is by chance, where did you get that research? Did you by chance give it in a book called Living the Dream, Stardom's 10th Anniversary in Review?
Yes, I did. Yes. How did you know?
Just a lucky guess, I guess just a lucky guess. Boy, I'm really good at putting these things in. But moving along, a couple notes about the match. I thought it was really good, and I kind of understand, you're kind of, you think, it kind of goes by, you think, well, this is 50-50 booking because Thekla just beat Mina. At the same time, you need to build up Unagi and Mina as tag challengers for FWC. I totally agree with you. I think this is just to get another solid match under FWC's title reign. But the one big thing I had coming out of this is, and we talk about this all the time, it just seems more and more glowing each show that passes, is since Giulia's come back from injury, she has this it factor. And I always say you can't explain what it factor is. Like, you can have excellent workers that just don't get over with the crowd or don't connect with the crowd for some reason. And it's almost like her injury was like a blessing in disguise, because she's back with this complete different aura. And I noticed, like, in this show and the next show, like, you just can't keep your eyes off her. Like, every little thing she does between her interviews, her promos, in the ring after, just the way she works the apron, when she's on the cell, when she's on the offense, she just has this, and nobody else has this. As much as I love Tam and Mayu and everybody else in Stardom, Siri, Utami, like, when it comes to the it factor, she's completely separates herself. And this might be something that Stardom has to look at, where it's just like, depending on what they're going on with their plans, I mean, sometimes as a promoter, you have to pivot. So it's like, do you put the belt on her, or is it a point where it's just like, she doesn't need the belt to get over? But to me, just watching this show and then the show we're going to review in a little bit, she's on a completely different level than anybody else in the company with that it factor. And again, it's something that you just can't explain. And I don't know if you're picking up that with Giulia in these past few shows, or if it's just something that I'm seeing.
I mean, we've talked about it on this very podcast about how, to be the red belt champion, I feel there needs to be an aura around you. And, there's the odd exception to the rule always. B. Priestley is the exception that immediately jumps to mind. But there has to be a star aura. You get that with Utami. You've got that with Suri. You had that with Mayu. I think here, Giulia has that in
more
spades.
than anybody.
Oh, yeah. God, yeah.
Maybe.
She walks into a room, whether she's Murder Pirate Giulia, Lunatic ALK Giulia, she has that room eating out of the palm of her hand. And it's not always been that case. Early on in her run, she was greeted with quite a lot of apathy. But now that she's basically up-leveled. And honestly, I cannot see how we finish 2022 without her as champion. I just can't see how that happens.
She's almost to what we were talking about 15, 20 minutes ago. She's on Io Shirai level of it factor. Again, I don't think anybody will ever be that good in the ring. Again, another story for another day. But as far as that it factor goes, it's like her, Io, like, if you want to talk about wrestlers over here in the States, Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, like, those are the 4 it factors as far as you just having that. Just, again, owning a room. You walk into a room and immediately, even if you're not a wrestling fan, that's somebody important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, she did, this was a good match, but there wasn't anything blow away. But your eye is immediately drawn to Giulia. And this match at World Climax has so many permutations and so many possible avenues that Stardom can go down. It's such an exciting prospect looking ahead to that. Let's move on then, Matt. match 4, the semi-main on this show, there was only 5 matches, was another 8-woman tag team match with the Donna Del Mondo team of Himika, Maika, Mirai, and Syuri defeating the Uedatai team of Starlight Kid, Momo Watanabe, Rina, and Ruaka, with Himika pinning Rina with the JP coaster in 14 minutes and 43 seconds. Matt, what do you think about this match?
This was solid, but to me, it just seemed like, maybe it's just wishful thinking because it's what I want. It just seemed like this match was built around a little preview of Syuri versus Momo. I think when you get these 6 persons or 8 persons, I think sometimes okay, this is, let's just sprinkle this in a little bit just to see if this is something that we can go with. Again, this was solid performance by everybody. Everybody worked hard. But to me, I just couldn't keep my eye off Syuri and Momo just kicking the absolute bejesus out of each other. And I'm thinking and hoping that after the end of the shows in March, that this is where they go with going into the spring is Momo and Syuri. That's again, Rob, I'm going to bounce this off you. Was that just me? Again, is this just my wishful thinking because that's the match I want?
My first note of this match is there is a lot of Syuri and Momo.
Yep.
And trust me, that's not a bad thing because these two kick the absolute hell out of each other. But it does feel like the rest are passengers in this exchange. Now, again, as I've mentioned a couple of minutes ago, there are so many permutations with World Climax. If Syuri comes out of World Climax as champion, Jesus Christ, well done. Because the odds are certainly stacked against her, but it has to be the next program going forward. Surely her versus Momo. As we've said countless times now that we need to have Momo have that red belt shot because otherwise all the momentum from this turn is going to have gone. And we need her to capitalize on this momentum. And yeah, they were in the ring together a lot here. Now, again, that could just be the way the match is booked and they haven't thought ahead as far as that. But, they do have history, going back to last year's 5-star and then again in January of 2021. We could be seeing it, Matt. We could be seeing it.
Yeah, and again, I know for me it was number 3 on my list, and I think our 1, 2, and 3 were pretty similar. I think it was 3 on your list for Stardom Match of the Year, the finals with Syuri and Momo. And this is, if it go this way, it's you get that match, but you get it different because now you have a heel Momo and you have a champion Syuri. So it's just like you have the added stakes as well. So yeah, again, you got to capitalize on this because the longer you go without Momo not winning the red belt, or at least challenging for it, you're losing steam off that heel turn. And now we're going on. That was right around Christmas, and as we're recording, we're in the middle of February. And I think that's what happens is she beats Giulia night 1, she beats Mayu night 2. Again, that's kind of her completion, as we talked about, is she wants to defeat Mayu Iwatani to defend the red belt. And then it's like, it's got to be Momo. I wouldn't be heartbroken if Utami comes out and says, hey, I'm a champion for 400 days. I want a rematch. Like I wouldn't that wouldn't hurt my feelings. Or Tam comes out and says like, hey, I was sick, I couldn't get a chance to get a title shot. I'm next in line. That I wouldn't be heartbroken there. But to me, I think it's got to be Momo, and I think you got to put the belt on her by no later than May, and then you give her that long heel run where eventually at the end of the year it goes to Giulia. I think that to me that's where it goes. But again, Rob, if me and you knew any better, we wouldn't be sitting where we're sitting. We'd be in a comfortable Radisson Inn suite. Eating sushi with Rasi Ogawa somewhere in Japan.
Of course we can but dream. That was the first thing I noted. Obviously, the second thing was the exchange between Prominence and Donna Del Mondo. Obviously, Prominence came out at the culmination of the match. Risa Sera, who again is the blue-haired lady, she comes out, says, I'm not waiting till Ryogoku World Climax. I want you, talking to Syuri, I want you and I want you now. Syuri basically said she's been waiting for her, and they seemingly agree a singles match. And then Thekla sticks her head in and goes, actually, I'll be a tag partner, and then sort of aggravates Fujita, and we end up with a tag match and another DDM and Prominence Pull Apart Brawl, which means that we are getting sort of a preview of what we're going to get at World Climax with a tag match on the February 21st Korakuen Hall show with Syuri and Thekla versus Arisa Serra and Akane Fujita. If I had to push you for a victor there, Matt, surely it has to be Prominence, which means that unfortunately it looks like Tekla's taking the fall there.
Yeah, that's the way it's going to go. Not unless, I mean, Prominence is kind of a hardcore promotion. Do you get to a point where maybe you just throw the match out and it's like a double count out to the point where it's like the ref, like, I'll give it a little leeway, I'll give it a little leeway. And then maybe it gets to a point where it's just like, this is just too much. I have to throw it out. And then you see the other members of Prominence come in. And then you see, the members of DDM come in to break it up. And then maybe what if you do a turn there? What if then if you do like a Micah turning and she joins Prominence, or a Himika and she, you could, a zillion different things that you can do there. But I think maybe you have to start out Prominence really hot. So I think you either give them a win, or if you do like a double DQ or double count out, but at the same time, maybe they leave them laying. I mean, that's one way you can go. The one thing I don't want to see is somebody from Prominence getting a title shot after the back-to-back Giulia Mayu Iwatani. I don't want to, over Momo or Tam.
No, I do agree. I think the turn is wishful thinking. I don't think we see that, but there are so many things that they could do with this. They have to do a Prominence victory here. Although, now that you've mentioned it, I do like the idea of Prominence beating Thekla and Syuri so much that the match gets thrown out. That's, with the whole sort of hardcore deathmatch thing they're sort of doing on their own promotion, that'd be quite cool. I quite like that idea. Obviously, we'll see. I'm quite looking forward to watching that match. I think it'll be fantastic. Sort of the main focus of this podcast, I suppose, is the main event of the Korakuen show. The first time the High Speed Championship has ever main evented a Korakuen Hall show, so I believe. And it was Starlight Kid, the champion, versus Natsupoi, the challenger. Natsupoi returning, obviously, after stage production. And this ended in a time limit draw of 30 minutes. Now, a couple of things, Matt. First of all, we joked about it going to a 30-minute time limit draw. I don't think either of us anticipated it doing it. There is a stigma attached to high speed around the time of the match. And that stigma seems to be if the match goes more than 8 minutes, then it's not, in inverted commas, the high speed sort of way, the high speed time. And there's a lot of discourse online about that 30-minute. Now, this is not the first 30-minute draw for the high speed belt. And our friend Armani Shoe Exchange actually posted on Twitter some of the longer high-speed matches. I mean, Natsuki Teo versus Kaori Yoniyama went to a 30-minute time limit draw back in 2013 at Shinkiba. We've got matches that go 21 minutes, 24 minutes, 25. Yes, there are shorter matches in there, but it was an interesting discussion that someone put forth in the Discord chat about how the shorter high-speed time limit was sort of bought in by Hazuki when she was champion. And she came forward and said, I want to beat everyone as quickly as I possibly can. And that was where this shorter time limit for every match came from. That being said, I don't think they had enough in this match to fill the 30 minutes, Matt.
So you're saying Hazuki ruined this for everybody? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm saying that Hazuki definitely wasn't having 30-minute time limit draws.
I mean, again, I think 2 weeks ago we previewed this match, and I think I said 52% that Natsupoi was going to win, 40% Starlight Kid, and 8% a draw or something. Whatever. I'm doing the Scott Steiner math here. But I think, again, we kind of joke because it was the main event. And then it's like I woke up the next day because these shows take place at like 2 or 3 in the morning, over here, Eastern Standard Time. I woke up the next morning and I was looking at Twitter and I went to a 30-minute draw and I was like, son of a bitch, they did it. And my first reaction for about 40 seconds was like, well, why? And then if you kind of just take the negative out of it and just take a step back, it's like, okay, I understand it's the high speed belt. Okay. but it's Natsupoi and Starlight Kid wrestling for 30 minutes. Why are we getting upset over this? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to reserve judgment until I watch the match. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought, they started out with the high-speed stuff, and then they went to like a simple psychology. They did their dives. And then they started doing, then in the middle of the match, about 13, 14 minutes in, they were doing high-speed spots on the outside, which I've never seen before. And I was like, okay, that's cool and that's smart, because now you can sell it outside. It's something completely different. And then they finished the match with high-speed spots. Now, for somebody that's been wrestling almost half his life, let me tell you, when you get towards the end of a match, especially with the pace that they were going at the beginning and the middle, the fact that you're like 29 minutes and 10 seconds in, and you have to fill 40 to 50 seconds with those spots, holy jeepers. I give them all the credit in the world for that. And I understand people that loved it. I understand people that liked it. And I understand people that didn't care for it. Again, that's your opinion. I can see everybody's side to it. But I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I actually gave this one 4 solid stars. I really, really loved it. And I also thought it was funny at the end. The two of them were like exhausted, and Natsupoi grabs the microphone. The first thing she says, and she breaks kayfabe when she says, "Hey, Starlight Kid, thanks for coming to my play." And Starlight Kid was just like, "No, I wasn't there." She's like playing it off like, "You ass! We're supposed to be having. I'm in this big bad group of Weight of Tai, and it's supposed to hate everybody, and you're not supposed to tell everybody that I came to your play. We're supposed to be rivals." I thought that was a cute little thing, but no, I know I was texting you about it, and you didn't text me back, and I was like, I'm kind of glad you kind of didn't give me a response, because I'd like to hear your response on the podcast, so you kind of get my organic reaction. But I told you I really enjoyed the match, and what about you?
First things first, you see that this match goes to a 30-minute time limit draw, and you go into it and think, oh, God, how is this going to go 30 minutes doing high-speed stuff? They're going to bottle it. However, if you take away that preconceived notion, this isn't a bad match by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think, like I said before, I don't think they had enough to go 30 minutes, but what they did was really good. They broke up the high-speed stuff with that storytelling. I really love Starlight Kid sitting outside and going, nah, you come out here. I've got no reason to be in that ring, because if it goes to a count out, I hold my belt. So Natsupoi is forced to go outside, and then they do the spots. We had a Van Daminator with a drop kick and a chair to the face. We had little bits of really, really cool high-speed backflips and cartwheeling out of things. The exhausted pins in the closing 10 minutes. This match had an outstanding closing 10 minutes. Like a really, really good closing stretch. I wasn't a massive fan of Natsupoi kicking out of the black tiger pile driver. I just felt like it was a spot we could have saved for an even bigger match. But even so, that's me being a little bit nitpicky. I love the big DDT on the apron. I thought both women put absolutely everything into this match. I don't think it needed to be 30 minutes. I think this match would have been even better, 22, 23, 24. I'm not one of those people who is staunchly against every high-speed match ever going above 10 minutes. If the match requires it, go as long as you need. I just don't quite think this needed to go 30 minutes. We're more or less the same. I gave it 3 3/4 stars. Again, it's Starlight Kid and Natsupoi. They're not going to put on a bad match. Now, I will openly say that I was not a fan of their match when they, where was it? Osaka, maybe? I think it was Osaka, where Starlight took the belt from Natsupoi. I wasn't a fan of that match at all, and I stand by that, because that had no aspects of a high-speed match whatsoever. That was just an ordinary wrestling match. If they incorporate the style of a high-speed match, I have no issue with the time limit. No issue at all. However, go on.
You hit. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go on.
No,
After you.
You hit the nail on the head where he said the match should take as long as it needs to tell the story. That's all. I was just gonna put you over there, sir. You hit it right on the head. A match should need as long as it needs, as long as it tells the story. I'll shut up now. Go ahead.
No, it's all right. Don't worry. it was a good match. It was a good match. It wasn't blow away, but it was a good, solid main event. Obviously, coming off the back of that, as we've said, Natsupoi thanks Starlight Kid for coming to a show, then offers her a present of her brand new photo book, which I imagine has gone down very well in our Discord. But Kid then slaps it out of her hand for making a mockery of the high-speed division. Poi then challenges for the white belt again, which obviously is her second challenge after challenging Tam back in Yokohama in July of 2021. And this is where Saya Kamatani comes to the ring and looks like she's about to accept, but then reacts as though Natsupoi could be the mystery woman from the YouTube videos. Now, she then leaves, and, you know, this has sort of blown up speculation that the mystery woman is going to be Saori Anu. Again, probably butchered that. There we are. Because her and Natsupoi look identical, so that makes sense. We could be doing the subtlest of subtle hints at Kairi Sane, you know, look at the gear. Last time Natsupoi went for the white belt, it was Kairi Sane's old gear. Is that a subtle nod to that? I don't know where they go from here.
But damn, it's interesting. Damn, it's interesting.
Jesus, they are playing it out, and I'm interested. Jesus, I'm invested in this.
It's at a point, if they keep doing these little skits, because we thought we were going to get it on the 29th, and then we're like, well, that's the day of the Royal Rumble, and then Kari was heavily advertised or hinted that she was going to be on the Rumble. It's like, well, maybe, and then she didn't show up, so we're like, well, maybe they wanted to hold off in case, but then they had the Prominence thing. But now it's at a point, man, it's like, if they keep doing these little hints and these little funny things in the matches and the way Saya's selling these, they can play this out for another 3 months and I'll be fine. I'm like this. I'm entertained. I'm entertained by it. And maybe it'll be like the mystery GM that they did in the WWE like 10 years ago. It's like you never got revealed who it was, but you were just entertained by it.
I swear to God, if they do this reveal and it's Hornswoggle, honestly, man, I swear to God.
He's the next high-speed challenger.
Starlight and Azumi then confront each other without Koguma this time, which is quite funny because Azumi's then looking around to make sure Koguma doesn't insert herself this time. And they set a date for their championship match. Azumi is the next challenger, the 23rd of February at Cinderella Journey in Nagaoka. At the next Korakuen show, Starlight Kid announced that the young Oedatai, which is Starlight Kid, Ruaka, and Rina, are going for the Artist of Stardom belts as well. So we have our first title match confirmed for Korakuen with another on its way. Overall, Matt, what did you think of this Korakuen show?
It was great, and again, from what I understand, it was a COVID sellout, and they basically just sold it on a high-speed match. But like I said, everything was really good. You kind of had a little bit of everything. Just again, the Hanasaki match was a good way to start it. You basically had the all-star 8-person tag match. You had again Giulia just looking like a star in her match, and then what we are hoping for is a little preview with Siri and Momo. So every match you kind of had building towards something in the future. I was entertained by every match, and good on Stardom for another great house.
Absolutely. We move on then to the New Year Stars Night 5, which was from the 6th of February from Sendai Pit in front of 238 people. We'll whip through this card as well. Match 1 was a singles match. Koguma defeating Ruaka with a side roll-up, 6 minutes and 58 seconds. This was demonstrably fine, Matt.
It was okay. I think Koguma gave Ruaka a little bit too much. I think right now she's still a little bit green, and I think that she's just better off like in the tag stuff, like where she's doing the heel stuff with Starlight Kid and Momo. But yeah, it was by no means was it like, this was unwatchable, burn your boots, kid. Nothing like that. And it's Koguma, and she's always entertaining everything that she does.
Absolutely. Match 2, another singles match. Now, this was damn entertaining. Hazuki defeated her little protege, Momokogo, with the Bombs Away diving senton in 9 minutes and 16 seconds. I thoroughly enjoyed this one, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I know they always do like these trial series matches, like they did it with Unagi, and they did it with Mina, and they did it with Lady C. I wouldn't be heartbroken if they did a trial series of just Hazuki wrestling Momo Kogo like every other show. It's like, okay, there's no tag title match, so because we just did one, we're just gonna do another Momo Kogo versus Hazuki match. But this was really good. You can see the little parts that Momo Kogo needed to be leaded. Hazuki led her very well, and this was. I was excited when this match popped up on my TV because sometimes I forget what matches happen after I read the results, and I'm like, oh, this is nice because this is basically the quote unquote Momo Kogo's teacher in Stars. But this was solid. I mean, Hazuki looked really good here. She did a good job making Momo Kogo look really good. Not that Momo Kogo really needs much help this early on in her career. So I guess the really big question is, what did your cat think about this match?
My cat was a big fan. Obviously, Momo Kogo enters the ring, and my cat has to watch. But the cat gave it a solid 4 purrs out of 5. I think these two had great chemistry. I think Momo Kogo looked so much more solid. Hazuki gave her a lot as well in this match.
Yeah. Maybe a little too much. Maybe,
but, if you're trying to get Kogo over, then why not? It's essentially, we talk about it all the time, it's essentially a Road 2 show. It's not compulsory viewing. So, on these little shows, why not? We all knew Hazuki was going to win. It was more a matter of how she was going to win than if she was going to win. But why not give Momo Kogo just that little bit of a rub, of hitting a few more drop kicks, or the springboard drop kick, or trying to change the moves that she's doing and adapting her offense. Ultimately, it was a little training match, and I thought they did it really, really well. I gave it another 3 stars. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I was 3 1/4, so we're right there.
3-way match was our match, and we should note that this card was changed because of Mayu's injury. So Mina Shirakawa came out defeating Unagi Sayaka and Hanan with the Glorious Collection Mina for the second straight show in 9 minutes and 17 seconds. I didn't mind the dynamic in this match because when we get 3-ways and there's 2 people from the same faction, it seems to be, right, well, when is the other one going to turn on the other? When is Mina going to turn on Unagi or vice versa? They start working well together and then it changes. They didn't do it here. It was effectively a handicap match, and it was effectively a handicap match for the vast majority of it.
Yeah, pretty much. And I talked about a couple minutes ago about Hanan, these 2 shows. In my eyes, she really upped her stock. And this match particularly, now this wasn't, like a match of the year candidate or anything, but I've noticed all the little things that she was kind of just missing a little bit on, she got down. Now, for example, she comes out and she does the Mayu Utani, let's throw the baseball into the crowd. I'm like, oh, okay, if that's where you're going, you better have your working shoes on, sister. And she sure did. There was like her timing, not that it was bad, but like her timing was really good. Her selling, like the way she sold, she was very, you can kind of tell that Mayu is coaching her well, because she was almost like Mayu level of selling. Like, okay, only sell a little bit here, sell a little more here, sell for your comeback here on your offensive, defensive. I was really thoroughly impressed. I mean, back-to-back matches, you have these 2 young athletes in Momo Kogo and Hannah, and I'm thoroughly impressed by both the work they did on both these 2 shows, especially these 2 back-to-back. I'm real excited to see what the future holds for these 2. But yeah, there was a lot of the psychology of it. It's kind of started off as a handicap match, but then Hannah basically kind of divides and conquers. And then as you're building towards the end, it's like Mina's trying to, one up Unagi and vice versa. And then there was some pretty cool, like interesting 3-way type pin spots. So going into this match, I was like, it's kind of a 3-way. It's going to kind of turn into a almost a handicap match. But I was thoroughly entertained with this match. And again, I cannot put over how well Hannah looked in these 2 shows back to back.
You said that obviously Hanan's been coached by Mayu. One important question is, how long before she coaches Hanan to throw a ball properly?
Oh, you know what? It's been a long time since I played baseball, and I wasn't any good at it. I'll be honest with you, Rep. I did set the record. Not that I want to talk about my Little League career from almost 30 years ago, I did set the record for most getting hit by pitches. I think it's good for 7 years, and not that. And here's the reason why. Now you understand why I'm turned into a wrestler. Is because sometimes there would be like, hey, we got to get somebody on base, and the coach would be like, hey, lean into one. So I lean into a lot. So now it makes sense because I wasn't any good. I was an okay fielder. I wasn't a good hitter, but
You can take one for the team.
I can take a beating, and I was the same way in football. When I played football, I was 100 pounds soaking wet. So it was just like, oh, just go out there and run in front of the biggest guy, so this way he's distracted. So it's just like, well, yeah, it kind of makes sense. I went to the wrestling way. Throw yourself on the ground, kid.
Match 4 then, the semi-main from this show.
Who knows?
I've just got visions of you being absolutely peppered.
Man, we were talking about a lot of my younger life on this podcast. Breaking into business, getting hit by pitches, getting beat up by fullbacks. Man.
Yeah, match 4. 6-woman tag team match. Going to a 20-minute time limit draw. The DDM team of Himika, Natsupoi, and Shiori versus the Queen's Quest team of Utami Hayashishita, Saya Kamatani, and Azumi. Probably the best in-ring match of the show, Matt.
Yeah, probably the 2 nights. I had this 3 3/4 stars. My first 2 notes is, when do we get another Sherry versus Utami match, please? And then I wrote right after that, when do we get another Sherry versus Azumi match, please? Everybody looked really good in this match, but as it kind of started and as it finished, as rightfully so for the booking, it basically just became a big preview of Natsupoi versus Saya Kamatani for the white belt. So everything here made sense. Everybody looked really good, but then they made sure the focus was on the big white belt defense. But yeah, I thought this was excellent. The time limit draw made sense, and again, I had this at 3 3/4 stars. How about you? Were you close on this one with me, like as usual?
Yep, absolutely. 3 3/4 stars, bang on. Again, look who's in the ring. You mentioned it before, Utami, Saya, Azumi, Natsupoi, Shiori, Himika. Himika, who's come on leaps and bounds since that injury and since the end of the 5-star. She hits with such ferocity now. Those corner clotheslines that she hits, Jesus. But no, you're absolutely right. Those little teasers of Shiori and Utami are never not going to be entertaining. And then obviously Natsupoi and Saya, I'm extremely intrigued how that match is going to play out at Cinderella Journey. So yeah, 3 3/4, probably the best match of these 2 shows, weirdly, when you consider the high-speed match. But yeah, go out your way probably to see this one, because the 20 minutes do fly by in this match. Main event then, 6-woman tag team match with Oedatai, the team of Momo Watanabe, Starlight Kid, and Saki Kashima, defeating the Donna Del Mondo team of Giulia, Thekla, and Mirai with the Kishikasai in 19 minutes and 51 seconds. Now, Matt, when was the last time we saw not only a team with Giulia on lose back-to-back matches, but also when was the last time we saw Saki get back-to-back wins?
Yeah, it's kind of, and I kind of hinted towards it at the Queen's Quest versus Oedatai captain's match, where she pinned Saya. And I'm like, oh, that's going to lead into somewhere down the road, her getting a white belt shot when Saya wins the white belt off Tam. So it's kind of like, you kind of wonder where they're going. But not only that, but like Saki she was in match 1 of the night before, and now she's basically closing the show. But obviously for the right reasons, because they're obviously building towards a match with her and Thekla for the SWA belt. But speaking of Thekla, we can kind of see, we got a little preview here in case they want to go high speed with her. Because she starts with Starlight Kid, and as if you didn't get enough high speed from Starlight Kid from the previous show, you started off here with them. So I thought that was a nice way to start the match off. And Momo, she gets to the ring, she has banger spots with Mirai. I mean, it's not much, but it's like, oh, I can't wait for that match in the 5-star, or if they do it somewhere down the road where they give us like 15 minutes, just the 2 of them beating the crap out of each other. And speaking of beating the crap, Giulia, again, you can't keep your eyes off her. And for someone who likes tight wrestling, she destroys Momo with these series of forearms, which can only lead to one thing. If you ever seen one Momo matches, Momo's going to get her. She's going to get her payback. And boy, does she ever. Man, I tell you what, Giulia, sometimes she just takes an absolute beating. She got her chin split open in the Mayu match. She decides, I'm going to try to beat up the hardest hitter in the company, which that goes well for about 40 seconds. But yeah, so you have all these like interchanging parts in this match, and it ends with Saki kind of getting a roll-up win here on the main event. And again, you have a lot of star power here. You're obviously building up Mirai and Thekla, obviously Giulia. We wax poetically about where they're going to go with her. Starlight Kid is a huge star, and Momo we think is going to be the next Rub Out champion. And yet Saki gets the roll-up here for the win. Not that I'm complaining, but it's kind of just interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this episode has effectively been bookmarked by Saki wins. I've mentioned before that I think Thekla, out of everyone I've seen her wrestle so far, she's had the best chemistry with Starlight Kid. Yeah. And obviously at the moment she's going to be preoccupied with the SWA belt, which I don't have an issue with at all. But once she drops that belt, I'd love to see her have a high-speed run, because she does have a really, really good understanding and really good sort of high-speed moveset that I want to see in that sort of frame. And again, we are short of competitors in that arena when you think we've got Starlight Kid, Azumi, and Koguma, and then not a lot else. So it will be interesting to see where they go with that. I'm never not going to be here for a Giulia and Momo Watanabe match. Every time I see Mirai, I'm more and more impressed with her. Like I say, that match at Nagoya Supreme Fight, she's a star. That is a star-making performance for Mirai. So I'm never not going to be a fan. Do we like Saki going after the SWA belt? Hell yes. How long have I been saying I want to see her go for, singles belts? She was a stand-in at Tokyo Super Wars because of Konami's injury, not Tokyo Super Wars, Kawasaki Super Wars. So here she gets the actual focus she deserves. It's probably going to be the main event of that Korakuen show on the 21st, because that's when it's been announced for. So, again, unfortunately, though, I don't see Saki winning, Matt.
No, neither do I. But you never know. You never know. But just to go back on a point that you made, Starlight Kid, it seems like when she's in the ring, she understands, I guess, Tekla's like offense, because Tekla's offense is a little bit different than everybody else. Like we talked about how she sells the Toxic Spider Spear better than anybody. So yeah, that's a singles match that I definitely want to see somewhere down the road. And Mirai, she does really well in the ring, especially against the heavy hitters. She had that banger of a match with Cherry not too long ago. Obviously, Momo is a heavy hitter as well. So it's like, just kind of keep her in that division where you just see some people just absolutely beating the bejesus out of each other. Give me, again, you're kind of having that DDM Civil War, and we're talking about, Himika just taking people's heads off with lariats. Can you imagine that lariat exchange? Mirai throws that Dynamite Kid style left-handed lariat. So, yeah, it's interesting to see. There's a lot of new talent, a lot of fresh matchups, going into the second quarter here of 2022, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Absolutely. We're blessed at the moment with some excellent matchups. Couple of things that are going on after this show that sort of come as a result of this show. We have already mentioned, I think, that the card order for Cinderella Journey, which we're going to go through the full card in a moment, there isn't an official main event at the moment, because you can go to their Twitter page and vote for what you think the main event should be. The options are the 4 title matches. So, Sai Kamatani versus Natsupoi, Starlight Kid versus Azumi, the Goddesses of Stardom Championship match between Hazuki and Koguma and Unagi and Mina, and then the Future of Stardom Championship match between Hanan and Momo Kogo. It would be great to see a show headlined by the Future of Stardom Championship, but I don't think it will be. Last time I checked, which was late last night, I believe Starlight Kid and Azumi was on course to headline that show. But again, go and check out their Twitter page so that you can vote on that. There was also interesting news to come out of that press conference where Stardom announced there's going to be a new blood show, which the first one is going to take place on March the 11th, 2022 in Tokyo. And basically, this show will be centered on a new generation with many participants from other organizations. Those participating players will be announced at a later press conference. Now, I'm intrigued by this for several reasons. One, if this is going to be like the rookies from different companies coming together, I'm all for that. I'm also all for just big collaboration shows. They tried that with the Assemble shows last year. It didn't work as well as I think people wanted it to. Obviously, I think they finished after 3 shows, maybe 4. I'm intrigued to see where they go with this, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, we talk all the time, especially in this podcast, about the young talent that is already in Stardom. And, Stardom is pretty much, at the top of the heap. So if you have, I'm just going to use it for simple math, 16, competitors that are rookies, 17, 18, 19, 20, and say there's 3 or 4 that are kind of pegged from that are stars and they're on different companies, it's probably a good possibility that in a year or 2 that they can probably make their way over to Stardom. And not only that, but the main thing here is you're getting good exposure on young talent. So and that's the main thing, is you want to get them exposed. It's going to help their career, which in turns will help whatever promotions that they're working. So yeah, by all means, give us more shows. Give us more shows to watch because we don't have enough stuff to watch. But in all seriousness, yeah, I mean, the main thing here is exposure for young talent. I would, back when I was first starting, I would absolutely kill to have that, especially with all the streaming platforms and how accessible everything is on YouTube. So, good on them. And I hope everybody that's in this tournament or this new blood thing that they're doing, I hope they all hit a home run.
Absolutely, and obviously when we find out more information and when the press conference will drop, we'll bring you all of the news to come out of that. Let's delve into this Stardom Cinderella Journey in Nagaoka card. So this is the full card rundown. On the pre-show, we've got a 3-way Mei Sakurai versus Waka Tsukiyama versus Rina. We've then got a tag team match, Queen's Quest, Lady C and Utami Hayashishita versus Momo Watanabe and Ruaka, which again, I see as nothing more than a preview battle between Utami and Momo for that inevitable singles match. We've got a 6-woman tag. It is an all DDM affair, ready for Ryogoku, where we've got Maika, Himeka, and Syuri taking on Mirai, Giulia, and Thekla. It's the match we should have had the last set of shows. I can't remember where it was exactly, but it ended up being a tag match. We've then got the Future of Stardom Championship match with Momo Kogo versus the champion Hanan. Tag team match, interestingly. Initially, this was supposed to be a singles match between Mayu and Saki, but Saki wanted to make it a tag match between Saki and Fukigen Death and Mayu and Tam. And that's now been made official. So Mayu and Tam tagging together against the team of Saki and Fukigen Death. And then we've got those last 3 title matches that we brought to you last week. Starlight Kid and Nazumi for the high-speed belt. FWC versus Cosmic Angels, Unagi and Mina for the Goddess belt. And then the white belt match, Saya Kamatani versus Natsupoi. Matt, thoughts on that card? Anything that jumps out at you that wasn't on those first 3 announced matches?
Wow, that's all one card. That's an absolute loaded card. That's a banger. Obviously you talked about we're going to get a little preview of Momo versus Utami, so count me in. All those title matches I'm super excited for. I'm excited for all of them, but obviously just based on what we talked about in these past 2 shows, Momo, Kogo, and Hana, I think have a chance to really, really up their stock, as if they hadn't already in the past few months. That tag match is interesting to me because you have with Saki and Death versus the basically kind of reuniting of Tam and Mayu. So you wonder if there's something that's going to happen there. And again, Saki having back-to-back wins on these shows we just talked about, closing out the main event, and Saki's had kind of Mayu's number with these flash pins over the last few years in these ever since she joined Oedo Tai. So I mean, anything can kind of happen there. And not only that, but then you have Mayu coming back from injury and Tam coming back from injury. So obviously, it's gonna be great to see them back into a ring, safe and sound. And yeah, and then you're basically closing out with the you have the tag title match between FWC and Cosmic Angels. That'll be good. And depending on what's the main event, is going to be either Azumi and Starlight Kid, reuniting their feud, or Natsupoi and Saya Kamatani. So I think that you go. I think you kind of go with it's the fan vote, which I think is awesome. But I think that the white belt should main event, but just because it's the more prestigious belt. But at the same time, there's more heat going into the Starlight Kid Azumi match. So regardless, I'm here for all of it. Every single one of those matches should be very interesting in their own way. And I really like the way that they built towards this card.
Absolutely, and obviously the closer we get to that card, probably next week we will be properly previewing, giving our predictions for that card. Some other bits of news in terms of previews. Obviously, we talked before about the show on the 21st, where 2 matches have been announced for that Korakuen card, which will be the younger Oedo Tai team of Starlight Kid, Ruaka, and Rina taking on the champions Mai Himipoi. And then obviously we have got the SWA belt match between Thekla and Saki. However, we have had some other shows confirmed. Obviously, again, by the time you hear this, the 12th of February show will have happened. The 12th of February is as follows. So we've got singles match, Saya Kamatani versus Momo Kogo. Mike and Himika taking on Mina and Waka. We have got an 8-woman tag with the Stars team of Mayu, Hanan, Koguma, and Hazuki against the Oedo Tai team of Momo, Starlight, Saki, and Ruaka. A tag team match with Natsupoi and Syuri taking on Utami and Azumi. Yes, please. That was a fantastic match at the end of last year. I want to see that again. And then the main event is a 6-woman tag DDM team of Giulia, Thekla, and Mirai against the Cosmic Angels team of Tam, Unagi, and Mei Sakurai. I'm intrigued with that main event because obviously there has been those teases that Mei Sakurai could have her head turned by DDM. And of course, that tag match between Natsupoi, Syuri, Azumi, and Utami is going to be extremely tasty. Now, that's from the 12th of February, Eddie and Arena Osaka number 2. Matt, what do you think about that card?
Everything seems pretty solid there. The A-person between Stars and Oedo Tai, I think that one could be an absolute show stealer. But yeah, again, we talked about this with, Mei. She's kind of been hit or miss on some of her matches, but she's kind of hinted that she may leave the Cosmic Angels. So now you're kind of putting a little more stock when she's in a match, and now they're putting her in the main event. Does the turn happening, because now it's just like her matches kind of have a little extra special thing on it just to see if she's going to do the turn. So you mentioned it a few seconds ago. It's the main event. You look on paper. To me, I think the co-main event is a bigger match, and I think that the A-person is a bigger match. But then when you add that wrinkle, well, we may have a heel turn here or something teased here. You kind of have that going in. But at the same time, anytime Giulia's in the main event, and Tam as well. So. It's going to be a hit. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Just to go back, I have actually made a mistake with the Korakuen card. It's not Thekla versus Saki at Korakuen. It's obviously the DDM versus Prominence match is at Korakuen on the 21st. The SWA belt match will be taking place on the 13th of February at Kyoto KBS Hall, which is a beautiful venue, and it's going to be the main event there. The rest of that card, very quickly, is Hazuki and Hanan taking on Mei Sakurai and Waka. We've then got the DDM team of Giulia, Maika, and Mirai taking on the Cosmic Angels team of Tam, Unagi, and Mina. we've then got a 6-woman tag between the Queen's Quest team of Utami, Saya, and Azumi, taking on the Uedatai team of Momo, Starlight Kid, and Ruaka. Semi-main, we've got the Stars team of Mayu, Momokogo, and Koguma, taking on the DDM team of Syuri, Himika, and Natsupoi. And then, as I mentioned before, it is actually on this show that the SWA belt will be defended. Thekla versus the challenger, Saki Kashima. Before we go to our final 2 questions, Matt, is there anything that jumps out to you, apart from the main event? Is there anything that jumps out at you on that card?
It looks good, but I'm going to be paying special close attention to that Stars versus DDM just because I want to see Momo, Kogo, and Natsupoi. I like to see a couple exchanges there just to see, obviously Natsupoi, former high-speed champion. We just talked about how that division's a little bit light. Maybe that's somewhere where Momo Kogo goes. Maybe they can add her into the high-speed division. So we shall see. Maybe that's a little preview. Maybe that's something that I definitely want to see, and obviously we'll talk about it.
Let's just head to some questions then, just to close out this episode, Matt. Let's quick fire these. So the first one, I just want your instant opinion, okay? This is from See the Tiger on the Discord. Is it going to be Saori Anou or Kairi Hojo for the Mystery Girl, and why? What do you think?
I think I'm obviously I think everybody's hoping it's Kairi. That's where I'm saying. Again, it's so pumped up, especially here in the States, that it's going to be her, that if it's anybody but her, it's going to be a major, major letdown.
I'm with you. 100% I'm with you. I think they've thrown in the red herring with the Saori thing. I think it'll be, which is a shame if it is Saori, because she is great. But
yeah, she is.
I don't want her debut to then be overshadowed by the fact that everyone wanted it to be Kairi. I feel like it needs to be Kairi at this point. And then he also says, when Poi wins the white belt, should she be called the Poifect champion? And yes, absolutely she should. Then we final question. Yes, absolutely. That is a t-shirt. We need to coin that phrase. Pip on our Discord then asks, question to all of you, and this is actually a really interesting question. Don't you think that, at the moment at least, that Lady C has less chemistry with Queen's Quest than she previously had with the DDM members? That's a really good question, Matt.
That's a great question. At the same time, man, it's tough because you're it's Lady C. We talked about Lady C's kind of taking Momo's spot because Momo leaves and then Lady C's there. At the same time, they gave her a mask, which she only wore once. That upset me. We talked about that last week. But you know what? She's had more matches with the DDM team. I say let's wait to see what happens. Not only that, but poor Lady C's been injured, so you have that as well. That's a great question, and I totally can see the point. But I say let's wait another month or two, and then maybe we can come back and revisit it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, the fact that she's the only one without one of those extremely cool-looking Queen's Quest robes sort of does set her apart as being, the new member. I think once she's integrated a little bit more fully, I think the aesthetic will at least be a little more cohesive. But yeah, and that's it for this week. I just want to make a couple of sort of announcements. I just want to shout out our great patrons again, as I do every podcast. They're all fantastic. Joseph Usher, Rob Jones, Niagara Driver, John Owen, Valkich Brocker, Tom, Ed BC, Brandon Neal, who has honestly made my week with an absolutely amazing message that I really needed this week. So, Brandon, thank you. We have received, I'm not going to read it out on the podcast. I was initially, but I'm not going to now because I don't want to embarrass you. But even so, it's an absolutely amazing message, and I'll share it with Matt and him in. Steve Clark, Emerson Stone, Alex Tremaine, IWEP Network, Mike, Spike SP, Jeff Baker, Doden Salar, Steve Kaklamenos, and then our newest patrons, Colin Matthey and Eric Sandoval. Thank you so much for subscribing, to contributing. We honestly cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much. Very, very quickly then, I just want to remind everyone that on Wednesday, we will be dropping our review of Ryogoku Cinderella Champion Fiesta 2013. That will be on our Patreon. It's a Patreon exclusive episode for the white and the red belt tiers. Our poll for our March bonus episodes is still live and will be live until Tuesday. So at the moment, the episodes that we're going to be covering are the Momo Watanabe White Belt retrospective, the Oedo Tai versus Queen's Quest loser leaves unit match from the 7th anniversary show. Very excited to do that one. And at the moment, B. Priestley Red Belt retrospective and the Nene Takahashi versus Meiko Satomura match review are both tied. Go and check out Patreon. Everyone can vote from high speed tier upwards. Go and check those out. But in the meantime, thank you so much for listening, everyone. Please make sure you go subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are literally everywhere. You can check out the website, www.podmania.co.uk, for all our archived episodes. You can check us out on Facebook, the Stardom Cast. You subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Stardom Cast again. Discord, go and join our Discord. It's pinned in our podcast description. Subscribe to our Patreon if you haven't already, patreon.com/the Stardom Cast for loads more bonus content. You can talk to me on Twitter at RealRobGoodwin. Matt, where can they find you?
Guys, you can get me on the Twitter and or the Instagram. Just search Matt Turner OF. I just put up my new design for my T-shirts, which I should be getting in the mail hopefully in a week or so. So if you're interested, let me know. And of course, always a big thank you to my artist and friend extraordinaire, Alex Sanchez, who does pretty much all the artwork for my shirts and my tag team shirts as well. So thank you, Alex. And get to watching some Stardom, damn it. But yeah, always appreciate any feedback that is thrown my way.
Yeah, it really is a cool design as well. Please, seriously, look at it. It's amazing. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, guys. Hit us up on Twitter at the Stardom Cast. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.